Now, before we get into everything, I have a lot of questions just like you guys. So, I wanted to put on screen the quote unquote proof that the guy who went and visited Chris in jail showed. Honestly, if you're asking me, someone who's covered all these letters, I think that the handwriting looks pretty accurate to Chris's stuff. Now, there's still a lot of conflicting information out there on whether this is legit, whether this is not legit, but we're going to operate off the idea right now that it is. If it comes out that all this is false, I'll gladly retract this and eat crow. But yeah, you read the title correctly. Someone went to visit Chris in jail, did a little interview for him, got some answers for stuff people have been wondering, and the only evidence he has to show for it is that little letter right there that he's only showing bits and pieces of. But as we start reading the interview, the guy will explain why he's doing this, and only releasing little snippets of the letters, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Now, we're going to look at the interview that Chris did. We're going to look at the drawing, the sketch that this guy, the guy's name is Alex, drew of Chris, which makes Chris look much more like frail than he was when he went in there. Now, obviously, that's what happens to a lot of people when they go to jail, but people have been wondering that about Chris. How much weight is he losing? And apparently, a lot. Like, a lot. So, once all that's said and done, though, we have one more thing we gotta look at the end of this video of someone actually getting a Barb Chandler sighting. So a lot's been going on in the past few days. It's really been very slow on everything going on with Chris, but I told you guys I'd update you when something else came out, so sorry for the long intro. Let's jump into the interview right now. It was apparently posted on Reddit. It was deleted off Reddit. Here is an archive of it from the Kiwi Farms, and let's get to reading. So the guy Alex starts his post by saying, "I took a road trip and visited Chris in jail on the 9th. My friend has been sending letters to Chris since late 2021, and he got Chris to add me as an approved contact. Chris has allowed visitors a couple times a week, but only from people he's personally approved." So I think we can see there that he probably, if Heidelberg asked Chris, hey, what people do you personally approve? It's probably a few people who are keeping their identities pretty quiet through the letters, and it's also probably the Praetor. I can't imagine Chris would trust anyone else to show up there, especially after all the stuff that went on with him and Kengel tried to steal Sonichu. So, yeah, we know that now, it seems like. Chris did apparently get that Kengel letter that was that was telling him that, Sonichu is ours now, you can't have it. And I guess Chris's his choice of action for that is very, very mature of him. It was to just ignore it and not respond instead of freaking the fuck out. But, that's what this guy's saying here, that Chris can get visitors. But I would strongly advise anyone from attempting to do this, because this guy now who posted this is just getting hounded. So, like I said, if you think you're someone who's going to be like, oh, I should go say hi to Chris, just save your breath. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Let's move on. Back in September, my friend got a letter from Heidelberg asking him not to post Chris's letters online and threatening legal action if he did. That's probably why so few letters have come out. My friend never released his letters either way, and never planned to until Chris got out of jail. So that's why I assume this guy only showed little bits and pieces. I don't think he planned to show any snippets of his letters at all to show proof. I think it's when people really started going, hey, you can't just say you visited Chris in jail with a flimsy little post here. You gotta show something to back it up. And he did, and that's what he chose. Now, as I said, the second I saw that 0104, I was like, shit. Well, it looks like it looks like this might actually be real. Now, as I said, that's still up for debate for people who want to debate that. But the one thing that really struck me from that little paragraph there was him saying that Heidelberg asked him to not post Chris's letters and threatening legal action if he did. I'm not so sure that's legal. I've seen people talk about this saying, I think that's just an empty threat from Heidelberg, knowing the people will most likely listen to it because the people who operate around Chris really aren't that bright to begin with. I think it's Heidelberg just trying to scare people because he knew all that shit from Chris getting out. It seemed to stop right after that one letter where Chris wished death upon Barb and all that crazy stuff. So I can understand why Heidelberg did this, because obviously he knew that these letters getting online and thousands of people seeing Chris's insane ramblings was like, yeah, court's probably not going to look too good upon this one, considering they can just go online and see all the crazy bullshit Chris has been writing. Obviously they'd have copies of those letters anyway, but nonetheless, that's what Heidelberg's basically saying there. He doesn't want no more of Chris's letters out there, most likely because Chris was just saying so much crazy bullshit, and now he's throwing out threats at people. I don't know if that's legally binding. I'm pretty sure anyone who gets a letter from Chris can do whatever the fuck they want from it, but don't listen to me. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. And with that being said, let's jump on to the next line. First of all, Chris is thin. Like, holy shit thin. He hasn't been this thin since probably 2000, if not earlier. That being said, he definitely looks worse for wear. He looks noticeably older. His hair is 100% gray at this point. Not the brown-gray swamp it was back in 2021, but it's still dark. One of his eyes was bruised, which he said he got when he fell, and they had very dark bags. He still has the stubble, unsurprisingly, and it's more visible than it looks in pictures. His voice is thin. So damn, all I get from that one is the jail has basically defeated Chris. As we already brought up, most people will thin down when they go to jail, especially for someone like Chris whose diet has consisted of nothing but McDonald's and fast food for his entire life. Going to jail is going to be a complete turnaround. You know, you're not going to have that greasy fast food and all of it at once like you always want. You're going to have like your set meals a day, and it's probably not going to be anything too appetizing anyway, so I can't imagine Chris is eating that much. His hair being 100% gray at this point, I attribute that to the stress that Chris probably now feels on a daily basis. You know, beforehand, he'd always bitch and moan about stress this, stress that. Now that he's behind bars and can't be around all his Sonichu stuff and can't do all the stuff he loved doing on a daily basis, I feel like that's more stressful to him than anything. I feel like him not being around his toys, not being around his video, not being able to, like, just go online and rant about ponies and whatever, that's really taking a number out of Chris. You know, we've talked about it before that he seems like he was settling into jail pretty well, and honestly, it seems like that may be the case. He's just trying to make the best out of it. But I think the real stress for Chris, the real, like, damning part of him that may have realized, like, oh shit, like, this is for real, was after he missed that first Christmas in jail, that 2021 Christmas. I think he really probably lost it when he found out he was going to be there for a whole nother year back in August. Chris here has been actually undergoing stress more than he's ever gone in his life, and I think he now realizes what stress really is, and it hasn't treated him very well. Is distress justified because of what he did? Absolutely, but it's something that Chris was never truly accustomed to in the real world. And then again, you could say the hair being gray is just an age thing, but come on now, we saw Chris's hair like just 2 years ago. He's what, 42 now? Or what, even 40, 41? He's not... Yeah, not even that. He's only like 40, 41. His hair should not go that gray that quick. There's definitely something going on there, and it's probably just the sadness of being behind bars. As soon as he started talking, I could tell he was on something. He hardly did any of the usual falsetto or screeching, and his responses were short. He slurred his speech even more than usual, but he didn't talk as fast. Oh, the jail is using the Sally Wilkins way of keeping your prisoners quiet. They definitely have Chris on some shit. Like, just because of the way he acted beforehand, they probably saw the letters. We don't know anything about how Chris acted in jail, but knowing how Chris acts in real life, it couldn't have been great. And so they probably have him just taking pills that make him a little less crazy. Now, the fact that he wasn't screeching and doing any of that, I personally think that's just because the jail has shown him before. Like, when you act out like that, you're gonna get punished. And he's never dealt with that in his life, you know? He could scream, stomp his feet at Bob and Barb all day, and they'd just walk upstairs afterwards. And so he just thought that way of acting was acceptable, and I think him now being in a place with, like, regiments, him being in a place where he's actually being cracked down on, has shown him that he can't act like that. But there's definitely a part of, I think drugs definitely play a role in why he's much more calm now, but we'll see. You know, when Chris gets out of jail, if that day comes, we'll see how he just so quickly goes back to the Chris he used to be. I did my best to draw while he talked, and he seemed happy with it. He kept interrupting me and cutting himself off to make quips like, "Make sure you get my good side," and shit like that. It was annoying. Yeah, that's just classic Chris attitude right there. I don't know what you expected. I asked him about the review date, the letters, why he was still in jail, etc., but he insisted that Heilberg told him not to talk about it. It seems like Heilberg actually managed to shut him up, at least when he's medicated. I could have prodded, but he was getting frustrated and starting to use the whining, demonic 6-year-old voice, so I dropped the subject. That's actually the only time he got whiny the whole visit. So yeah, you can see that there's still a big part of Chris Chan in there. Now, he was just getting whiny every time someone asked questions, It's the same thing that most locals do. When you ask them questions that they don't want to answer. In Chris's case, he's been told not to answer, but then they just pout and act like children about it. But as you can see there, Heidelberg apparently got this shit on lock now. He's got Chris on straight up lockdown. He has probably read through these letters, has seen the stuff Chris is writing about. I need to get back to like the Sanachu temple. I miss like all my husband and all these people, Magichan and all that. I want to get back and do everything I used to do. And Heidelberg probably really sat him down. And Chris was probably sitting there just fiddling with his thumbs, probably going doot doot doo, just doing all the random stuff he does. Heidelberg probably just told him, look at me. Do you ever want to see the Sanachu temple again? Like, do you ever want to see any of your stuff again? Do you ever want to do any of this stuff again? Like, Chris, we can get you that, but you need to stop doing this. Chris probably still, once again, just didn't pay attention to it, and Heidelberg probably had to be like, look at me. Like, Bob, look at me. Do you know if the court sees this, they could keep you in jail, and you'll never see your house? So you go get them goddamn letters off that internet. Like, if that's probably... Now, I don't think he actually talked to him like Bob, but I think Heidelberg really did lay the law down, and somehow, some way, Chris, who's never really taken advice or understood a damn thing in his life, understood it. So that's pretty interesting. I asked him what he does all day. He said he spends most of the day meditating on the prayer rug. That is so like Chris. He's just trying to manifest all his powers, probably trying to say, I need my toys here. I need them now, Magichan. Bring them to me, thinking that Magichan's just going to slip his omnipotent hand through the bars and hand Chris like a pony doll. And that he liked playing basketball in the rec room. Apparently he got unbanned for good behavior. Oh my god, that's great to see Chris. I would love to see Chris get out of jail, just go up to people in the streets like, hey, wanna play me in a one-on-one? Wanna play me in some horse for some money? I need some money. He gets food from the commissary once or twice a week. He kindly offered that he's been taking fiber supplements because jail food makes him constipated. That totally sounds like Chris, just unwillingly giving out that info completely unprovoked. That's a Chris move right there. Also, apparently he's been mixing popcorn into his ramen. He doesn't ever talk to other inmates. Popcorn in his ramen? What the And the fact that he doesn't talk to other inmates, that's not surprising. It's most likely because they don't want to talk to him, but I digress. This next one's hilarious. He said he doesn't know how much money he makes from his jail drawings, but he guessed it around $25. Wow, the Praetor is taxing, oh my god. They're selling most of Chris's drawings for what, like a few $100s a pop, and Chris is getting $25 out of that there. But they know what they can do. They know with Chris that it's pretty easy. He said he hasn't gotten any donations in a few months outside of Praetor. I asked him about Kengel, and Chris just responded, he's the Antichrist with a smile. He didn't elaborate. Okay, so we've been wondering this for months. I really think that this shows that there's a really good chance that Chris received that letter from Kengel, kicking him out of Sanachu and everything, and maybe Chris handled it in a more adult manner, not freaking out, not sending Kengel a letter with a bunch of angry faces telling him that he's damned to eternal darkness or whatever. I think Chris really just sat there and went, okay, and just in his mind is like, oh man, I will smite you so hard. You do not understand what you've just done, Kengel. And, but yeah, Chris is handling it now in a much more adult way, calling this man the Antichrist with a creepy smile on his face. If I was Kengel, I'd watch my back when Chris gets out of jail. And speaking of that topic, I asked him if he wanted to get out of jail, and he shouted that the truth would be revealed in just months or something like that. He confirmed that part of his quote-unquote sacrifice, he wouldn't be returning to the Sanachu temple or seeing Barb anytime soon. I asked him if he missed Barb, and he said yes. Well, of course he misses his mom. It's his mom, but at the same time, his mom is the one who needs to be protected from him, considering the actions that he took. Now, when he talks about a sacrifice right there, I think he started to convince himself that this is like a godly, like a very noble thing for him to do, to be sacrificing this time away. just to be completely in solace, alone, left to his own thoughts, because this is part of the bigger picture. He had to be away from the Sonichu Temple. He had to be away from seeing Barb, and it's all part of a bigger plan, not realizing that he did this all to himself, and this could have so easily been avoided had he not boinked Barb. Him shouting that the truth will be revealed in just months is the same thing he's been doing. Like he's been saying usually, oh, the next hearing date, the truth will be revealed. Oh, the truth will be revealed in just a short few days. Now I think because he's spent so much time in there, he's more comfortable saying, oh, it's just a few months away, knowing that he's already spent what? Like, he spent a year. It's now January. He spent about 16 months in jail. So I think for him now, it's just, yeah, it's coming soon. Just, you guys worry. The merge, or the truth, all that stuff, it's just on its way. It's just around the corner. I asked him if he still believed in the merge, and he basically said yes, and it's finished, and repeated that the collective shift was just months away, and that the truth would be revealed. So I take that back. The merge isn't on its way. The merge has already happened. So, if you're walking through New York and you see, like, Superman or Spider-Man, it's not just some dudes in a crappy costume trying to get you to take pictures for them for tips, It's, that's the merge, my friends. We were basically out of time at that point, so I showed him the drawing. He laughed and basically told me it looked like shit. That sounds like Chris. I thanked him and left. So, there's not like this insane long interview there. Like, there's not this like, oh man, it's getting into so many detailed questions. There's probably some stuff the guy's leaving out of this, maybe. But that's at least something that we now know going on with Chris, because we've really been in the dark for about 4 months now. And it's this whole time people have been wondering, is Chris allowed to write? Is he not? We've seen with the jail art that it seems like he is allowed to write people from jail, but I think he confirmed it there with something little that he mentioned, that the only tips and the only donations and the only, like, the commissary, all the money he's gotten, it's only been from the Praetor. So why do you think he's more inclined to just write to them, Yeah, it sounds like they're scamming him a little bit if they're only sending him, $25 out of these $100+ sales they make over his jail art that I can't believe anybody is buying. But those are the people who are giving him money. That's why he's inclined to just only write to them, only answer them. And I assume when Heidelberg told him, here, look, we're not going to let you keep writing people. We're not going to let you do this. You just pick the people you truly want to write to, the people you know personally. Chris probably just thought, well, those people give me money. Or maybe even Heidelberg was like, well, those people just keep sending him donations, so you can keep writing to them because you need to get your money in here. So maybe that's the case. I don't know. But this guy, this dude here, Alex is his name, who wrote Chris, as I said, he went to Reddit, posted this. I don't know what he thought was going to happen when he did that. People just immediately started shitting all over him. And now, like I said, he deleted that post, or someone, I don't know who deleted that post, but thank God for the kiwi farmers, because this would have probably been lost to time if not. And yeah, man, look, what a weird little happening there. So apparently Chris is allowed to have visitors, but only from people he trusts. This guy was able to convince his friend to get Chris to put this guy on the list of people that Chris would trust and get in there. As I said, there's still some flaws with this. There's still a lot of things you could point to and say, hey, is that accurate? Is it not? The fact that this guy just jumped right to it without no proof at first and only posted it when he was hounded on it. Who knows? Who knows in that case? But I think, like I said, this is probably the most we're gonna see when it comes to Chris for quite a while, considering he's in jail at least until August, because that's when the next hearing date is. And at this point, with how things are going, I absolutely think that we are not done with this come August. I think this is going to be, we'll find out what the next step is, but I don't think the next step is him getting out, because that'll be 2 years by then. There's no way they don't have anything on Chris and they're going to keep him in jail for 2 years. That's just, I highly doubt that. And as I said in the beginning of the video, though, we're not completely done yet, because I actually forgot to show you guys something, and it just hit me now. Here is the picture that the poster drew of Chris. Yeah, you can see his cheekbones are much more visible. There's not much really here. Like, it doesn't give you a completely great idea of how Chris looks. But Chris saying that this picture sucked is so funny, considering it's just on par, if not better, with all of Chris's lame artwork throughout the years. But that's just Chris's ego shining through, and you knew that was never going to leave him, no matter what drugs they pumped into him. The final thing that we need to talk about today is the Barb sighting that happened just a day or two before this little situation with Chris started. Some guy who was like making deliveries or something around Chris's area thought, hey, it'd be a good time to kind of stake out the place and wait for Barb. Apparently, they had like a cellar in the area they were just waiting for, and they decided to kill time by parking up out front of Chris's. This story I don't know about. This one just seems like they're trying to cover their tracks to not make themselves sound weird for having a stakeout to look for Barb Chandler. Nonetheless, they did get the sighting of her. Now, it's very hard to see, as you can see on screen right now. You're probably looking around like, well, where is she? Let me zoom in on it a little bit. And even when I zoom in, it's some grainy Bigfoot shit. Like you can kind of make out this silhouette of Barb Chandler opening the door. But the original poster claimed that her hair is like snow white. She looks older than ever. I'm not gonna get into what this guy's saying because we don't know if any of it's really how accurate it is because you can barely get a glimpse of Barbara as it is. I will say this though. This proves one thing that a lot of people have been asking, and that is Barbara still living in the house? Is the house abandoned? No, Barb's still there. Barb is still there. She's still living her life, doing whatever 80-year-old women who recently got friggin' taken by their sons do. I don't know. That's a cruel reality I wish upon nobody. But that's what Barb's been up to. Just living at the house. Not too shocking. It's really not shocking at all that Barb Chandler is still at her house. However, I will say there was a lot of different stories going around for a while saying that the house is cleared out, that family members would take in Barb, maybe Barbara gets sent to a home. No, the only home she's at is Branchland, and it looks like she's staying put there. Chris probably ain't never getting back in there. And that's all I really got for y'all today. Chris, we've been waiting for a Chris update for a while, and now we finally got one. And it's basically what we expected. He's probably going to be writing to a few more people. The people are probably going to be too scared to post the letters, and that's to be expected. We haven't seen anything within the past 5 months, and I don't think we'll be seeing much more until about August, maybe July. And when that comes, we'll probably see Chris either be a completely changed Chris, a more doped up, kind of laid back Chris, who's still crazy as all cuckoo shit, but at the same time is much more reserved. Or we could just see Chris go back into the courtroom, start stomping and kicking and doing everything he does, just so he can try to make them believe, I gotta be let out of here. Look how angry I am right now. Do you really want this behind the bars of your jail? So we'll see what goes on. When something else drops, I got you all updated. And yeah, and with that being said, I want to give shouts out to Vanessa, Scaly Schisms, Phelan's Party Place, Churlish, Pythia, Your Mom, Mick Surly, Adrian Lara, Sky Fitzpatrick, Alright Stingy, G-Man, Wade Pauls, Trademark, Commander Louie, Krabby, Justin S., the Ghostbusters fan, Steve from Machete Squad, Vaga, Italian Boy Advance, East, Chris Chan's Fanta Bottle Collection, Pebra, XK Rux, Bullet BP, Synthesis, Fat Potato, Dan Noodles, Emery, Trygive Black Tiger, ATK Cast, Jason Breen, Philly B, Bass Trucker, Robot Gorilla Man, Jared Bradford, Soda Joe, the United States Department of Homeland Security, Seal Currently, Eric Estrada, Everborn, Jurassic Clark, Gravy, Akiba's Beat Fan, Pokemon Trainer Andre, Cowboy Pete, Burger Boy, Cyrax's Stylus, Hillbilly Wizard, Sora Trash, Hurricane Salem, Isaiah, Danny the Foot, Prideful Jester, Cyanide Candy, Smokey's Dealer, Kiwi Bros, Griffin Shivo, Chef Meme Maker, Austin Vidal, Club Doom, Alex, Sarah's Van, Gryphon, Gourd Believer, Jay Avarice, Tilted J, and Costai. You guys are all goats, and all y'all who made it to the end of this video, you're a goat as well. I know it's been pretty dry on the Chris Chan front, but like I keep repeating over and over, when something comes out, I'll be sure to let you guys know. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. It is Monday, the week, we're pretty far from the weekend, but my friends will be there before you know it, and you'll be chilling, doing your thing before, like I said, before you even know it. I swear to God, you're gonna wake up Monday morning and be like, oh my God, like I can't even imagine, like how did it get here so fast? How are we so far removed from Sunday? And well, You know, that's the beauty of life, my friends. The good things get here before you know it. So, yeah, I'm out of here, and hope you guys all take care and have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you on the next one. See you later.